Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So, yeah, I gotta tell y'all, man, Iron Lion sent something to me. Shout out to him. He'll be making content soon, I think. What he sent to me was a screenshot of one of the Wyatts talking about how she feels abnormal and insecure a little bit because in this relationship there's no drama. She doesn't have these fears of losing him. There aren't the arguments like before. And several Wyatt women underneath advised her to not worry. But that they'd been through this before, and when you finally get a responsible guy that's there and keeps his word and all of that, you kind of don't know what to make of it. And it said to me, okay, so this is the norm, like they all got to go through this bad boy, irresponsible ninja phase. And these are all Wyatt women. And so what jumped out at Iron Lion, and then he mentioned this to me, was that not one of them that we could see, that we noticed, that was in the screenshot, had the decency to say, you shouldn't have gone through that phase you went through. If you hadn't been insistent upon bad dudes or irresponsible guys before, you would know how to handle this situation. No one said this. Now, maybe someone said it further down. We admit this. But what we could see on the screenshot confirmed what we men in the sphere have been saying. The less responsible men, by women's own definitions and confessions, get the best of them. They get to be that lady's first and get her best. The rest of us get to be her last and get what's left. And most of us are the rest. So, the women aren't leaving the HOE phase because of maturity and wisdom. Because see, if it had been maturity and wisdom, they could have bypassed it anyway. They're leaving it because of age. Sometimes age is enough by itself. Other times, age has to bring some things along with it to make them lose options, like waiting other men's kids. But they're not leaving the HOE phase until they lose options. It has nothing to do with maturity. I want to believe that for some individuals that must be the case. There must be some exceptions just based on sheer numbers, but you don't get to live your life based on exceptions. Rather, you are forced to live based on rules, just like I am. There's some people that win the lottery, but most of us will never win even $1 from it. So you see, even if they do mature, they have to lose options first before they mature. That's not real maturity. And we men have allowed immaturity on the part of them for too long because they're cute. We need to start scrutinizing their maturity as soon as they are old enough to call any of us immature. If the 5th grade is the first time you heard them say something about boys are immature, that's when you start scrutinizing their immaturity. And tell this to your young brothers. See, this is why I said hit the share button. Every man in the middle 20s and younger needs to hear this. And when I say younger, I'm talking down to middle school. The week before they hit middle school, they need to know this. We don't start the scrutiny. We bought the lie that they mature faster than we do. So even when they're 15 and giggling and they got these little Disney cartoon collections, even at age 15, when they have all of these things, and they're not mature, we overlook it because we're so brainwashed. Now let's talk about the bad boy phase and the HOE phase. The bad boy phase may not go with the HOE phase. It usually does, though. But the HOE phase always goes with the bad boy phase every time. See, a lady might decide, well, I'm not going to sleep around, but I only want this kind of guy. But what you're not going to find them is going through the HOE phase where they're putting out, and it's not with these bad dudes. Every time. And when they're going through that, once they start that, they start looking at the responsible men and saying, if I were to do the same thing with one of these responsible guys, it would be too convenient for him. It's not just about putting him on the back burner for a practical reason. It's also just simply about the fact that it might be too convenient for him. Remember, they police each other. And being a source of temporary below-the-belt relief for one of these responsible guys, though I'm not supporting it because it's fornication, regardless as to who it is, in their mind, it's not about chastity and fornication. It's about that responsible guy does not deserve any sort of relief. So if she was ever an HOE, it was never with a guy she thought of as being responsible. And this is how they begin to learn step by step to look down on responsible men. This is why you should only tolerate being with someone you know had an HOE phase if you were the type with whom they had them. If you were the majority of men, then you should not, because you would not have been the type with whom they indulged them. They indulge in these phases only with what they consider to be bad dudes. And if there's a plethora of bad dudes, they're going to start weeding them out too. Who's got felonies? Who got the most tattoos? Who's got warrants? Who's got bodies? Now, these may be a small percentage of men, but the number of these men is always high enough to where the lady gets a higher body count than most men. And that's a part of why most women can't stand most men after she gets experienced. The men don't become experienced, the women do, and therefore she can't see most men as men anymore. And that includes you and me. We're most men. So if you're a normal man and women aren't approaching you, and I mean women who are in shape and childless, then you should never accept a woman that shows signs she's been through one of these phases, either the bad boy or the HOE phase. Understand that in the screenshot that Iron Lion sent me, not one of them said to the others, as far as we could see, that there should have never been a bad boy or an HOE phase in the first place. Gentlemen, we can't win a game that's that rigged. We'd like to, but we're not capable of it. No one can. There's literally nothing that's going to stop them. So, literally, take your balls and go home. Then take your passports and go elsewhere when you can, if you decide that the single life isn't for you. Either way, you stop giving them these relationships. One, male chastity, I'm telling you about. I think we should start limiting it to marriage. On the real, the romance and them draws, we should start limiting it to marriage. And even then, not a state marriage. Because even though there are women who don't have to go through these phases, either one of them, or even a drama queen phase, understand that they get shouted down if other women find out about this, so they can't bring themselves to come out of that closet to us and risk that kind of social isolation. And it's not because they hate us either. May as well just not seek them out in a case like that. It's not your fault. But you're not going to find them. They can't expose themselves to you because they would expose themselves to other women. And they're willing to do what it takes to stay socially connected to others, so that's out the picture. What you're going to have to do, gentlemen, is very sad. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. You are going to have to, in the final run, shut them out of everything. Lockout game. It's like Lionel McTow says, shout out to him. Lockout game, give them nothing. And then when you can stack and you can get a passport or find a way to earn in a traditional environment, then you can consider a legacy if you can get there. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum. Black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment.